Hey, I'm Gerry. I just wanted to spend some time today and tell you about a very exciting tool that we've built online. This tool has created a lot of excitement for marketers out there. And what we've discovered is that in our efforts to make this tool user-friendly, we've created a tremendous amount of functionality, and what we've discovered is that it's very helpful when we help users maximize their use of the tool by giving them some view of how to do certain things. The tool is called Precision Targeter. It's really about helping small and medium businesses create a campaign around their businesses and acquire new customers. And this tool is map-centric. If you were to try and do some of the things that this tool could do, you would probably need 5 permanent employees manipulating spreadsheets and data sets, overlaying them on maps, and so on and so forth. With this tool, you can do all this in a few minutes. So it's a very, very powerful tool. Because it's a very powerful tool, I wanted to share with you right now a couple of tips and things to know to make that effort a lot easier. First thing you should know is the tool is very powerful. It really works on top of a lot of data. And so in an ideal world, your computer would be a fairly current, high-performing computer. In an ideal world, you would have cleaned your cache and optimize your browser. The other thing is that we've discovered is that sometimes companies use it inside of their infrastructure, so behind their firewall, and then what happens is that some of their infrastructure slows down the streaming ability. So you need to be mindful of that as well. Make sure you have a good connection. Wi-Fi works well, but a wired connection works even better. So at this point, I'm going to take you through the tool. Easy to access it. You can type Precision Targeter on your browser in a search engine. It'll bring you to the application. What you see on the screen is the landing page for the application. You'll note in the landing page there's a lot of language that we've included in there that is commonly used by people who use our unaddressed mail service. And so when they type certain words in their search engines, it'll eventually bring them to this application. So this is the first in a series of little videos designed to help you and help users improve on the familiarity gap of how to use the application. I'm going to just cover a couple of things today, things to make it easier for you. First thing you should know is that frequently the tool needs to go get data, and therefore the tool is in think mode. And so what you have to do is, first of all, be patient. The worst thing you can do is be clicking all over the place while all this is happening. The end result of doing that, of course, like any other application, is your application will get loaded down with requests, and it'll start freezing on you. The application is very map-centric, so the first thing that you're presented with is the map of Canada, and the next thing you're presented with is a by-step approach to doing things. Now, as you grow familiar with the application, you may need this step-by-step approach less. What we're finding is that even customers who are very familiar, they like the idea of keeping the step-by-step approach. The step-by-step approach, one thing you should know is that it does not require you to make any entry. The step-by-step approach already has entries pre-configured for the users, and those entries are determined by what is most commonly utilized for creating a mailing. So I'm just going to click continue here. As you can see, it presents me with the describe your mailing screen. It's already, as I said, pre-entered. I'm going to continue here. In this case, you have the option of choosing a demographic filter. For the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to pick only one. I'm going to pick household income of greater than $60,000. And then I'm going to click continue. And then, of course, once you've made some demographic choices, the tool asks you what geographic coverage would you like to see for your demographic choices. In this case, I'm going to pick radius. Of course, that's a concentric circle around a specific location that you would identify. I have one that works well, and it works well for a couple of reasons. First of all, the tool does not require a perfect address. A perfect address is always better. A postal code works well as well. But in this case, I'm just going to say Guy Street, Montreal, Quebec. And I'm going to pick a radius of 3 kilometers around that particular location. I click continue at this point, and you can see that because the address I typed was imperfect, I have the ability to pick some options that the tool has offered me. Now, what that tool then happens, this is a tip that I'm sharing with you, it presents you with a little training guide while the clock is churning. So this is designed to manage your time. At this point though, sometimes customers get impatient, they think nothing is happening, they don't necessarily see what's happening as the right thing, and so they start clicking around, and that's when the application will freeze on them. You can see that in this case, the tool brought you back the data within seconds. This can take, depending on your geography choice, this can take a little longer. Typically, we see the response rate being around 8-9 seconds, but for a larger geography coverage, we've also seen 118 seconds, so the equivalent of about a minute and a half. And so you need to be mindful of that. This is a tip. You need to be mindful of that when you're using the tool, that certain searches will take a little longer. The one thing that you do notice at this point is that the little training box that's here, you can shut it down, but it is a pretty interesting training little box, and so if you ever wanted to bring it back up, you just click the information button that's on the browser. The other thing that you can see is, this is very important, this tool, we did a lot of consulting with customers. So customers said, it would be nice if I make some selections and if the tool were to offer me suggested routes based on my selections. So what the tool will do is it'll automatically offer you routes that are outside of your geography that are a perfect match for your demographic filter. So that pops up automatically. So you might think, hey, I didn't ask for this, it's there. You can actually choose to include it or exclude it. I'm going to exclude it at this point. And what happens is that the tool then goes back and it removes those options from the data. At this point, you see the color scheme on the map. The color scheme is a hot to cold color scheme. The hotter the color red, the hotter red, the more perfect match to your demographic choice you have. Blue is the lesser match to your demographic choice. On the screen you see the map, but you also see on the left side all of the choices that you've made so far. And so the good news is you can, if you know the choices that you made, you don't want to reference it, you don't want to edit it, because you can edit right from here. You can actually just push that to the side. You can see the little tab is still here and you can bring it back at any time. Whatever you see on the screen in map view, you can also see in tabular view. And you just need to click the little tab at the bottom to see that in tabular view. You can sort on tabular elements of the routes based on, for example, I could say I want to see the total residential count. I want to prioritize them in terms of the greater value in total residential count. Or I want to prioritize them in terms of total value of match rate. This tabular view is always available to you. The good news about this tabular view is it's easy to select or deselect some routes based on some criteria that you might have. So it's really about going a little deeper in your analysis. Very important little tip here. This tool at one point, once you've made all your choices, will allow you to print a report. The report will print based what it sees on the screen. So it's always important to make sure that your map is in the middle, because it'll print a view of the map, but if you've been working on the map and it's up here, that's what you'll see on the final report. So a little tip is to place the map in the middle. The other thing you need to know is that your mouse right now is in map manipulation mode, and you can see that by the graying of this box in the upper corner here. You have one pin, you've put that pin there by selecting one address, but you have the ability to add more pin. One thing you need to know though is when you click in pin add mode, you can no longer manipulate the map because you're not in that mode. This is something that we've heard customers tell us, oh my God, I can't manipulate the map anymore. And so just be mindful of which mode you're in, and it'll allow you to do the things that you want to do. So let me go back in mouse mode. You can see that I have a view of the map right now. I can show you a closer, more precise view of the routes. The tool allows you to see the map in different ways. You can overlay to the map things that are of interest to you. For example, municipalities. And so when you overlay the municipalities, you can see that the municipalities are starting to shape up. And you could also add what's called an FSA overlay, which is the postal code overlay, the first 3 characters of the postal code. Some customers are very comfortable with that. Oh, and by the way, very important, whenever you see this update map button going orange, it's because you've made a change, and that change would cause the values of your number of pieces and your cost to change. And so whenever you see orange, take a moment to refresh the data. It'll update the number of pieces that you need. In this case, the reason it went orange is because we deselected suggested routes. So that's why it went orange. The other feature that this tool has is the ability to look at the routes. And in order to look at the routes, you just go into route mode. So once again, your cursor is no longer in mouse mode, it's in route mode. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to hover over a route, and you can actually see the count of the routes. And at this point, you could actually say, okay, this route is very deep blue, and there appears to be a fairly industrial area of the route. I'm gonna click. The route goes white. That means I've removed it from my count. And so I've removed it from my plan. So the good news is, what I showed you earlier that you can do in tabular view, where you can deselect routes, you can also do it in map view, and you can do it in map view because it's a little bit more visual. So these are the early tips that I wanted to share with you. I think a couple of things. Make sure your computer is in the best state to use this type of application. Make sure that you watch what's happening on the screen so that when the application is in think mode, it's not a good time to start clicking around. Make sure that you know what tool you're using, if you're using the mouse tool or if you're using the root tool, because when you're in one or the other, it's not always clear. And I also showed you options that you have in terms of how to navigate this tool. So I hope this was useful, and I thank you, and there will be other tips, videos that we will produce as we learn more and our customers tell us more. Thank you.